So far, we have been talking mostly about the kind of writing that designers and students and professionals in the built environment disciplines need. It is equally important to focus on the kind of reading people have to do, because similar to writing, reading also comes in different types, different varieties. Again, the kind of reading that most of our students are used to, especially when they come in at the first year level, at the undergraduate level, is the kind of reading they were encouraged to do in school. That is, reading for the purpose of learning, for the purpose of memorizing what they are looking at. However, as they move ahead in their professional lives, that is not the kind of reading they need to do. Whatever they read needs to be processed differently, needs to be integrated into their practice. So, for us as people who are teaching reading and writing, it is important to identify what we want them to learn, what are the kind of types of reading we want them to be aware of and to use in the process of accessing various texts. The most immediate kind of reading that all of us think of, and that is a need for all of us, is reading to understand and imbibe content in our own disciplines, the kind of reading that one does in order to update oneself. We read the latest research in, say, engineering or technology, or we read about designers' approaches to specific problems, we read about planning solutions, we read those in order to inform ourselves. While reading like that, what most students tend to do as a mistake, and because they resort to the kind of reading that they are familiar with, is to go back to trying to understand everything. They get stuck at every single little word that they are not able to understand. They're not able to take in the larger perspective of the text. That is something that we need to work with them in order to get them to read through a text in its entirety, take from it what is necessary, whether that is information, whether that is data, but in either case, this should be contextualized. The other reading that we want our students to do is reading as a writer, reading to see what kind of strategies other writers employ to ensure that the reader is able to feel, to have the effect that we want as a reader for them to have. We're talking now about a different approach to reading altogether. We're talking about what we sometimes call reading for style, where the focus is not on learning, memorizing, or even at this stage understanding the content. That is not to say that we don't care about the content, but that is to say that this kind of reading comes as a second step once we have gone through the text and engaged with it. We read it for style in order to identify the movements of the text. For example, what has the writer decided to place in the introduction? How does that introduction invite the reader to engage forward? What does the writer do about the structure of the text as a whole? Is that revealed from the beginning, or is it a linear structure that we have to move along with? Does that work for us as a reader? If we realize that something keeps us interested, something keeps us going, then it makes sense to try to adopt a similar strategy when we write ourselves. That is not an easy thing to do. Some of us do it instinctively, but it takes some time, it takes some practice, it takes some experience reading. However, in order to scaffold, to support this process, what we can do is encourage a way of reading which articulates at all given points what are the key movements of the text, what are the key strategies that are working for us, makes note of them, and then uses them while moving forward.